Hey everyone, it's Jim Chapman with Local Leaders, the podcast, and I want to make you aware of a fantastic deal they have going on right now at Fit Body Boot Camp in Denham Springs, Louisiana. If you go to the link getfitdenhamsprings.com/local leaders, you can get $30 off of the regular price of $129 for 30 days of classes. Go to the link, click it, sign up. 30-day classes for only $99 through that link. It's a special deal offered to all of our listeners at Local Leaders, the podcast. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Local Leaders, the podcast. And today we've got two impressive young men, and they're not extremely young, 23 and 24, but definitely young compared to me at 47. And they got all their hair still, which is something I noticed right off the bat when they walked in. But they're doing some great things for Livingston Parish, and they've come by today to talk about that. So I'm gonna let y'all introduce yourselves, and so we'll start here. Tell us who you are and what you're representing today.
Sounds great. So my name is Nathan Sanders, 23 years old. I born and raised in Walker. Went to Walker High School, graduated in 2017. And Walktown. Yep. Then went on to Southeastern, wearing the sweatshirt today. Graduated in spring of 21.
Very good.
Business management.
Yes.
And so now me and Larry have embarked on a journey to start the first Livingston Parish Young Republicans.
Awesome.
And we hit the ground running. We met last fall, October, November-ish. And so a little bit of background. I am involved with the Louisiana Young Republicans. It's a federated club. There's a national organization as well. And
so it's like a chapter.
It is.
Oh, gotcha.
It is. So they do have a chapter in Baton Rouge and New Orleans. And I've been involved with, and Larry has as well, the Baton Rouge chapter, and for many years. And so going through that and kind of working my way through that, and I'm in leadership now in the state club. But you know, my job, I work for Americans for Prosperity. I'm an engagement director, so they call it. So I go out in the community and sort of identify these economic barriers, but also just to get people activated. And so I'm from Walker, I live in Livingston, but I'm, going to these community meetings. I'm going to these Kiwanis meetings, Rotary clubs, and these Republican women clubs. And I'm like, man, we really need a young Republican presence here.
Yes.
And so I came
100%.
to Larry and I was like, man, we got to start this. And we hit the ground running with it. We had our kickoff event last month and it went phenomenal. And so we're having a blast, and now we're planning this. Yeah,
now you're on the worldwide Local Leaders of the podcast.
That's right. We made it big.
And this guy over here really needs no introduction, but we're gonna allow you one anyway. So tell us who you are and what you represent.
Thank you, Brother Jim. As Nathan said, my name is Larry Davis, and I graduated from Denham High in 2015.
Whoop, whoop. Go Jackets!
Classic. Go Jackets all the way. Go Jackets. We do not lose to Walker. Kelly Jones coined that. But I have a love for our community.
Yes,
there's no place like Livingston Parish, and so my goals have just been to keep Livingston Parish. Serving in my local church, I serve as a youth leader at First Baptist Denham Springs to junior high students and some high school students. And so just when Nathan sent me that text, because you never know how prayer works, but the Lord always has a way of putting people together. Yes. And so I was entering in the time in my life to where I wanted to serve, I wanted to give back, I wanted to make our community better than what it was or better than what it is. And so when I got that text message from Nathan saying, I have a passion as well to get this started, I said, absolutely. And it was an answered prayer. So just like you said, we have been hitting the ground running. And I don't have a title. I just love this community. And I want to make sure that we become, as Ronald Reagan said back in the 80s, a beacon on a hill, because Livingston Parish is just the last best hope, what it looks like, of mankind right now. So
I'll tell you what, I agree with you 100%. And it's really nice to sit down with some young men that really have a love for the parish, a love, even for politics in general. And something I share that I had a love for at a very young age. And I'm that guy, even at the age of 47, that sits down and watches congressional hearings and is totally entertained. I mean, we put most people to sleep. I'm like, oh, great. Yeah, Cruz is up next. This will be good. I love it. So I can relate. And one of the things that interested me about having you guys on was you just did a podcast recently on the Thread with Brandon Browning, and watched that podcast, and wow, I was just blown away at your maturity at your age in general. And I'm sure y'all hear those things. It's not common for people your age to really take an interest in the political realm. So that in and of itself was really intriguing to me. Now, it was interesting, Nathan, you reached out to me via text. I was actually at an event for Real Life Real Crime. They were doing a podcast, and so all weekend I was tied up, and I'm like, man, I really want to have y'all on, but I don't know if I can have y'all on this quick. And so I made some time, because I really thought it was important that y'all come on. You're promoting a pro-life town hall, which I'm all down for, and definitely a pro-life guy here as well. And so I thought the importance was worth whatever I had to do to make it happen. So I'm glad y'all are here, first of all.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, excited about that. Now, I guess the first obvious question is, how typical is it that you see the younger, I guess, generation be as politically interested as y'all are, and as not just politically, but community interested as you folks are? Sandra Richard has been in the business of selling homes for over 20 years. This award-winning realtor brings the perfect blend of professionalism, integrity, and client satisfaction to every buying and selling transaction. A passion for both her clients and her community makes Sandra the perfect choice when buying or selling your home. So if you're in need, call the Cajun Lady, Sandra Richard, at 225-955-5484, or visit her on the web at sandrasellshouses.com. Sandra Richard, a proud sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast.
Yeah, I'll say that, like, especially being involved, like, with the Baton Rouge Young Republicans and my job now, we do get, it's more, I'm more on, like, campus, LSU's campus, Southeastern's campus, and you do see more of the groups like Turning Point, College Republicans sometimes, and then the Young Republicans. You do see, and it could just be because I'm there more than I was. Probably more than I was when I was actually in school, but in terms of, like, the organizations being present, but you see more students there, especially Turning Point LSU. They do a pretty good job at tabling and on Free Speech Alley and stuff, and so you see that interest there. But personally, I have more fun, like you said, with the community engagement. I love politics, I love history, and that's where my love is. But, like, especially these past few months, and when I started my job, like, the community aspect of it, going to these events and finding out, who are these community leaders, what do they got going on, what are these events that I can get into, and just being a part of that is something that I'm extremely happy with doing, and I find so much joy in, and I think Larry does too.
Oh, the young adults here, people are wanting it.
Yeah.
That's something I told Brandon. Even on our Facebook pages and social media, parents are wanting to get their kids involved. They just need to know the how.
Yes.
And so our school system is
it.
phenomenal. Our churches are phenomenal. But I'm noticing in our community that certain people are afraid to take that next step. They think, as Brandon put it, that politics is a dirty word, but it's not. It is our everyday life. It does, if you're not involved in politics, your children will not know what to think or why they think it. And the same thing for you. So the educating of our young adults is important, especially in Livingston Parish, making sure that we're raising up the next pastors, we're raising up the next school board presidents, we're raising up the next local leaders, we're raising up the good that we have in our parish is important, so that we don't leave it up to the bad.
Yeah,
100%. And community. Larry really hit the nail on the head with there's a negative connotation with politics in general. You always, a famous term you always hear is you'll hear someone say, well, you should be president. Well, I'm not dishonest enough to be president or whatever. You pick an office, but you hear those sorts of things. And in some cases, maybe that, some offices somewhere in the United States, I'm sure there's some dishonest people, just like there are in every field.
That's right.
But if you want to change your community and you want to make a difference or make your community better, there is no better way to do that than actually entering into the political realm and maybe running for an office. It's hard to change things when you're on the outside looking in,
That's right. Yep.
especially if you have good ideas. But a lot of people are kind of nervous to take that step, or maybe they have no desire to be in politics, but they love their community and they want to support that, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
So-
that's the main reason, that we're even doing this, that we even exist, because, especially young people that are more inclined to be interested in politics and history and running for office, like that's great. But if you have nowhere to sort of go to a group of people and express that and find the right outlets for that, then it's really hard, and you might get discouraged sometimes, and you don't know what to do, where to go. So part of why we exist is for young conservatives to come to us and say, hey, maybe I want to run a campaign, or maybe I want to just organize a community group effort to do X, Y, and Z, or maybe I want to run for office, maybe I want to run for council. That's why we exist, to get groups of young conservatives together and have access to those things, have access to elected officials, and just to know what's going on.
Attend meetings. Look, Larry, you're very active with the school board meetings,
absolutely,
and things like that. And if you don't go, it's hard to kind of keep up with what's going on. And y'all are exceptional. I have a 19-year-old that I intend on forcing to watch this podcast, whether it's cringy or whatever or not, for him to look at his dad. So it's something, that I fully intend on informing him of, and hopefully I'll get him in this town hall. He's a student at LSU this year and be going into his sophomore year next year. So probably perfect age.
Yeah.
And use this example too, Brother Jim. I had a friend who wanted to go to LSU for dentistry.
Yeah.
And so, may not have included himself as a political being, but this is the example I always use. Well, imagine somebody, Bernie Sanders, winning the presidency. Well, in Bernie Sanders' mind, he wants you as a dentist to make the same amount as a post office driver.
Yeah.
And you have to go through more schooling and things like that. So, in fact, politics does play a big part on your life. A lot of people are seeing that now with the price of gas.
Yes.
With the price of food. See, we can't vote with our emotions. We have to know what we believe.
100%. So you bring up a good point, and I'll tell you this: people sometimes assume that. Look, I have friends that are Democrats. Yeah. I have, as crazy as that sounds, I have friends that are Democrats. They're good people.
Yeah,
they just they're on the opposite side of the spectrum of what I believe. One of the things that I'm very staunch on is pro-life. Yep. That's something that I have no leeway on. To me, that's a very black and white issue. Most Democrats, they believe in pro-choice stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's where we differ.
Yeah.
But it's funny because, there's some things we have in common. Maybe we both love the football, or we both love LSU, and we can sit there and I don't know they're a Democrat and they don't know I'm a Republican in most cases in life. But where we differ is policy and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I do want to preface that with it's nice, that we can sit down with people of all beliefs and have a discussion.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
BJ Pawn and Gun in Denham Springs wants to buy your unwanted gold jewelry, gold coins, and gold bullion. With 30 years of experience operating in the Livingston Parish area, BJ Pawn wants to be your source when selling your gold. So stop by BJ Pawn today for a no-obligation offer. BJ Pawn, a proud sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast. And there was a time years ago when Democrat was...
It flipped over.
That was the working man's party.
That's right.
After Reagan, in my opinion, is when
it switched.
Yeah. But Larry, you brought up a good point on Brandon's show when you were talking about kind of the belief system that makes a Republican a Republican.
Yes.
There's a lot of independents now, and there's a lot of people that they say, well, I don't identify one or the other, because it can get ugly on both sides.
Yes.
I mean, as someone that watches every congressional debate in the world, it can get ugly on both sides. And sometimes people say, well, I don't lean this far right or this far left. I'm more of an independent. I vote based off of who someone is. And while that's great, there are some major policy differences between those two parties, right?
Yes.
So, Larry, you're obviously, I would assume, like all of us here, a believer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would imagine that plays a key role in your life, right?
Every decision. And going back to the first podcast we ever did with Brandon, which is why I'm a conservative, it's not based on the party. It's based on the man who came and died for all of our sins. It's based on our risen Savior, Jesus Christ. If we do not educate people on the gospel, our country has no hope. Being pro-life, and somebody said it better than I could, is not a partisan issue. Yep. It is not a partisan. You don't have to be a Democrat or Republican. Believe that life matters. Life matters. And to say that, to kill a child, to hear people justified for any means on killing a child, that to me, you can't, if you can't justify why life matters, you can't say that the Holocaust was a bad thing. You can't say that slavery was a bad thing. You can't say that murder was a bad thing. This is legal murder.
Yeah.
That's what abortion is. It's legal murder, and people justify it. If we can justify the killing of innocents, we can justify a son getting angry at his mom and shooting his mom. I mean, when does the buck stop? So being pro-life is not partisan. And I do want to say a fact. Something I saw or read today when we were having coffee was that 51% of abortion, or no, that's not the one, or 54% of people who have abortions identify as Christians.
Wow.
Isn't that profound?
Yeah.
So what does that tell us that we're doing wrong? What are we doing so wrong that 54% of young women under their 20s, that also goes with the statistic, are committing or identify as Christian?
Yeah.
We're doing good at saying that premarital sex is a sin and it's bad, but where's our compassion that Jesus had to say, you know what? I don't know what mistake that you made. I don't know what bad road you went down on, but there is redemption. There's redemption found in your brokenness. There's redemption found in that mistake. That is how we as Christians are to respond, by example, but also by compassion. And compassion in saying, you know what, God said that this is a sin, but we don't stop there by saying it's a sin. We have to explain why. Because God says that as a young woman, you're worth more. You're worth more than just, having premarital sex or whatever it is. You're worth more than that. You have ideas. God made you for a purpose, and it wasn't just to give birth. You have more ideas than what the world may say. It's not makeup. It's not in celebrity. It's in who you are. You're defined by your Creator. And so what makes me a conservative is this is the party that is, it seems, to be taking the mantle of traditional values, of traditional marriage, of guarding life, of being conservative on spending. All of that's in the Bible. The majority of that's in Proverbs. How to spend our money, how to treat each other. All of those things matter. And I have a friend who said, you know what, if we don't have any morality, if we don't have any, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about the budget crisis if we can't protect life. Right. Who cares about the budget? We're still going down a road of just eternal damnation. So that's why.
Golly, Larry, I don't think I can say it any better than that.
That's my wife.
Amen. That's all I got to say to that statement. Very good. And Nathan, now I'm going to turn to you.
I can't follow that.
Yeah, you can.
You can follow it. So, as we discussed earlier, you had this vision that we're going to start a Livingston Parish Young Republicans group. And while visions are great until they're followed through with, they stay visions, right? That right. I always say greatness is found when somebody follows through on a thought. Yeah. Many people have had great thoughts,
yes,
but very few follow through.
Yeah.
They just have the thoughts. So how did you do that? Once you had that, you discovered the need, and then you said, okay, this is what we want to do. How did you go about researching how to start this chapter?
Yeah. Well, no, I was blessed, and I'm super lucky with sort of my friends at GBRYR. It's the Greater Baton Rouge Young Republicans, and then the Louisiana Young Republicans as a whole. I mean, I've attended their meetings for years, and I've recently jumped into a leadership role. And so just to follow in their footsteps, to see what they've done right, what works, see what they haven't done right, what doesn't work. I had that to follow, and I had that to learn from, and
Smart.
that helped out tremendously.
You're not reinventing the wheel
Not
at that
all.
point, right?
Not
I tell
at
people
all.
that all the time. Even in parish politics, if there's something we don't have, and they have it in Ascension Parish or East Baton Rouge Parish,
Yep.
I mean, that's great. You go to them and ask how they did it,
Yep.
and then replicate it, and you look like a genius.
That's right.
And, yeah, exactly. And
It's not that difficult.
and we had the benefit. So, and there was things that I wanted to do different than what they have, because Livingston Parish is different from Baton Rouge.
Yes.
In many ways, different community, and so there were so many things, and we had lucky to have Larry, and we grew up here, so we knew what was different. We knew what we needed to do, and so identifying one of the emphasis that we wanted to do with this club was we knew we wanted to be community builders. We wanted to build coalitions. We wanted to build sort of this just network of a loving Livingston Parish community that partnered together on things like this and just got stuff done, and that was educating and training the community. And so, not saying that the Baton Rouge chapter doesn't do that. It's just different, and they're bigger, and it's a different dynamic out there.
Yeah.
And so we got lucky, that we have a loving community that
we did.
is
We
reaching
sure
out.
do.
That's reaching out to us and wanting to help us.
And I'll agree with that 100%. And Larry, I'm going to turn to you, but I will say this about the Livingston Parish community, and I'll give you a little bit of my personal testimony. So I was a guy that before I was this podcaster you see sitting in front of you right here, I had another career, and I was an outside sales rep for a paint manufacturer for 25 years. Wow. And built a pretty good book of business, in Livingston Parish, having lived here, and over all that time, when you're a salesperson, it's all about being number one, right?
That's right.
And for us, it was every month. You start at zero, and you want to be number one. So for many years, especially in my younger years, I focused on that. I need to be number one. I need to be number one. And that was the motivator for me. And that's okay. You always want to seek success at your top level in whatever profession you're in. But I wasn't stopping and asking myself, how much am I giving back? I gave back at church. I tithed. I was a good citizen. I paid my taxes, all those sorts of things. But outside of that, what was I doing? And the answer was, aside from raising kids and doing those sorts of things, which are great, not much. Not much. I wasn't going to council meetings. I wasn't paying attention to what was going on in the school board and those sorts of things, and always found excuses to kind of get out of that stuff. And it wasn't until I was much older, and actually the flood really slammed me right in the face, because it showed me the value of people. And how when the worst of the worst of the worst hits you, you can actually pull the best out of people.
Absolutely.
Man, I experienced a lot of crazy stuff in that flood, a lot of crazy stuff. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I saw was it didn't matter your economic status. It didn't matter who you were, your skin color, anything. All that mattered was that we all knew we were in it together, and we were going to pull ourselves out together, literally out of water. Trust me, I saw it a lot. So that to me was so beautiful and had such a change in my life that it took a situation that was probably the worst thing to ever happen to me or my family and turned me into a better person than I would have been ever in my life without it. Crazy to think about, right? Yeah. That was when I changed and said, from this day forward, I will do everything I possibly can to give back to this parish, to these people, because, man, let me tell you, a 40-something-year-old guy sitting on the side of the road with 3 little kids and a wife, and you see a roll of toilet paper and you're about to bust into tears, that's when you know your chips are down, right? And I was there. I wish I was y'all's age and really took the interest. I had the interest politically. I always have been interested in it, but it stopped there. And that's what I was talking about, Larry, and I'm going to lead you into this, is because I saw you shaking your head when we were talking about it. When you have that thought and then you follow through, that's really when things start to change, right?
That's right.
Fit Blends of Denham Springs can help you with everything from meal prep to supplements. I love it that they serve breakfast all day in addition to the best ultra healthy wraps you can really get anywhere in Livingston Parish. They are home of the $5 Smoothie Friday and are an amazing sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast. Fit Blends Denham Springs, fast, fit food for you.
And from the moment I received that text message, it has been a partnership since then. A partnership with Nathan, but also a partnership with you, Brother Jim, a partnership with Brandon, a partnership with the Kiwanis Club, a partnership with my church, a partnership with so many people who have been praying for. I mean, we had two ladies at the coffee shop who heard our discussion, stopped what they were doing, and came and prayed for us. Yep. Wow. Because we are, our community is yearning for somebody to just stand up for the right things in our community, and they don't want to be the mantle holders. They're looking for the next generation. They're looking for young people to hold that mantle, to say, this is the way that you go. So just what you're saying is, it's actions. Actions speak louder than words. Okay. And so the main thing I've been praying with Nathan with, and the main thing we've been discussing, is we need to be different. We need to be different. To whom much is given, much is required. And just like I told him after that prayer, I said, you think that it's easy now, but as we keep going and fighting, the enemy's going to attack us. And so that is when we have to stand strong. We have to continue to read from our Bible, to continue to stand on our convictions and our integrity, and call on our community, because our community wants the right change. And I always say this, Livingston Parish, or the old chief of police, Scott Jones, awesome man, he used to say it like this: we are a blessed parish. And we are a parish in between 2 parishes of East Baton Rouge and Tangipahoa Parish, where their school systems are fracturing, crime rates are skyrocketing, and people have forgotten their God. People have forgotten their Savior. Not here. Right. We value our Sunday mornings. We value our Wednesday nights. We value our community. We value our church leaders, and we have not forgotten what Jesus Christ has done for us. And so we are taking this mantle on to be able to just run this race that God has given us. And I thank God that He chose us to lead it, because I'm excited. Yeah. I feel revival happening in our community. I feel revival happening in our schools. I feel revival happening in our churches. And not just to be a Republican, but to be a conservative, a Christian. Revival in that area, to where our community learns to stand up. Because a lot of the things that we complain about in our homes, we were just talking about this today, a lot of the things we complain about in our homes are because the church has decided to be silent about. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, when they heard that we were taking this manual, the church ain't silent anymore. They're saying, go run this race. We're going to be behind you 100%. And so I'm praying that by the end of this year, the church is not the silent partner, but the loud partner, the partner that says, you know what, we support this. This is what God has called us to do for such a time as this. Yes. It's time.
Yes. And shout out that church. Shout out your church.
First Baptist Denham Springs.
Best church in Denham Springs.
Best church. Come and visit. Come and visit. We have an 8:30, a 9:30, and an 11 o'clock service, and our youth meets at 9:30 a.m. So come experience the Holy Spirit.
They've been a huge help throughout this whole process. I mean, they're letting us use the church. So many volunteers from the church. Like I don't go there, but they've been a huge help and big blessing throughout this whole process.
It's a good thing, and of course, we always feel God when we come together and talk about Him, and I'm fortunate enough that I have several people who are big time believers.
Absolutely,
coming on. Advante Showers.
Yes.
You know him.
Yes.
He'll be on next week, and I'm sure he's gonna shout out his church and say, "First Baptist ain't nothing my churches."
We're where it's at. We're where it's at.
Yeah. Friendly rivalry there, but yes, it is a beautiful thing, and so I want to turn to you again, Nathan.
All right.
While you're drinking water,
I
tried to time that just right. That's right, local leaders water. So I want to turn to you real quick, and I want to ask you partnering with somebody on this, which is the Louisiana Right to Life.
That's right.
Tell us about them, a little bit about them.
Yeah, so they play a huge role when it comes to the Right to Life movement in Louisiana. We reached out to them. They do a lot of things with legislation, grassroots, partnering with other organizations, gets at them. They're huge.
They
do good work. And so it's funny because we knew even before our kickoff event in January, we were kind of discussing we wanted our year to look like, what kind of stuff we wanted to do. And one of the things we've discussed from the beginning, we never wanted to meet just to meet.
Absolutely.
Right. There's been so many organizations that sort of have their monthly meetings. They get there, they eat, they talk, and they leave. But there's no. I mean, they may even have a speaker, but there's nothing.
They're not engaged.
They're not engaged.
Right.
There's no call to action, and sometimes that's fine. But when you do that over and over again, you start to lose not necessarily interest, but kind of purpose.
Right. Very good way of putting it.
Yeah, and so we didn't want to be like that. We didn't want to meet just to meet. And so as we were planning our kickoff event and we were talking about things we wanted to do, it was probably some sort of recency bias, but that's when all the marches were going on last month or a few weeks ago. All the marches around Louisiana were going on, and we were talking about, like, we got to do a pro-life event. Whatever that may look like, whether it's a speaker, a Q&A, a panel, we have to do a pro-life event. And so we didn't really discuss because we reached out to the Right to Life shortly after our kickoff event, so we really didn't go deep into discussion of what that format was going to be. And so we reached out to Ben Clapper, executive director at Right to Life, and he emailed us back, and he was like, "Hey, can you guys jump on a call like soon?" And we were like, "Absolutely." So we jumped on a call with them, and they took the initiative. They were like, "Hey, like, we want to partner with you guys. We want to make this a big thing. We want to do a town hall in Livingston. We want to tap into that group." And from there on, it went like it blew up, and we were absolutely 100% down because we were not against having a big event. And it's been fun. I mean, they've been great partners. They're providing some speakers and all the educational resources and stuff. And so it turned into a big blessing because I'd imagine, thinking back now, if we would have just had some sort of small event with a speaker, it probably wouldn't have been much of a call to action. We would have had one, but this type of town hall, because of the materials we'll have and the speakers we'll have, we're planning for a big call to action and what to do after. And that's the most important thing is, you can have this big pro-life rally. You can have this, all these speakers say, I'm pro-life, I'm pro-life. People will agree with you. But what are you going to do after that?
Right.
Are you going to go march? Are you going to go pray? Are you going to go activate? And that's the most important thing.
100%. And Larry, I'll turn to you real quick. And I'm going to ask you the same question, Nathan, but I'll ask you first, Larry. Obviously, your faith plays an important role, as we discussed earlier. But I'm sure somewhere along the line you had a mentor, someone that mentored you along. So many people are lost, especially some of our younger generation, because they never had anyone there showing them the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, who would you credit as a mentor?
That's a great question. First off, my grandfather, Robert Robinson. But I have to tell you that the Bible tells us it takes a village to raise a child, and my village isn't done yet. So my grandfather planted that seed. My mother lived the example of what that looked like, and God has just blessed me with a village. I mean, countless people have been in my life to continue to just keep me on track, continue to pray for me in intercession. I mean, Brother Ben Dyer, youth pastor at First Baptist, has just been a helping hand through it all, and calling out my calling in my life, making sure I don't forget what I'm called to do. Yes. So, Brother Jim, I mean, over 24 years of just mentors and mentees throughout it all. I mean, and they know who they are. It's so many that have they pray for me. They're praying now. They step in, step out. I mean, Chastity Oldemont, so many people have just been instrumental in my walk in my faith. It's not just a praying, it's being there, right? Action speaking louder than words. So Robert Robinson, for going up to church with him during the summers at 6 o'clock in the morning, not leaving till 7 at night, going to deliver communion to people, and my mom making sure that I, stayed in faith and lived out that example. That's where conservatism starts at. When you see a woman who's able to buy her own house by herself, when you're able to see a woman take care of her children without needing government help or constantly looking at somebody else as the problem for your situation, but just taking that step. So my mom, she lives it each and every, she doesn't know, but she lives it each and every day. And it means a lot. It does.
Dane Arnold with iTrade Exchange has been enabling small business in the Livingston Parish area to save cash through his network of over 300 participating Livingston Parish businesses. Saving cash by trading services with other exchange members is what iTrade Exchange is all about. For more information, contact Dane Arnold at 225-205-3640 or visit iTradeExchange.biz. Well, shout out to Larry's mama. Good job. You've raised an awesome young man here. And you are also an awesome young man. We don't want to forget about you, Nathan.
No.
You are just as awesome.
I don't know about that. Larry's pretty awesome.
Larry, y'all are both awesome. Now, who would you credit as a mentor to you in this journey that you're on right now in life?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Larry there. There's a few people that come to mind, just sort of different aspects of my life. And I would say with my faith, my cousin Hayden, we're best friends. He's up in, he's the same age as I am, but he's a youth pastor up in Missouri now. He just recently moved. But he's always been the one that's sort of held me accountable with different things, hey, you should be doing this, or hey, you shouldn't be doing this, and kind of just growing together that way. We've always been pretty close with other things, but especially that things. He's never been scared to call me out on anything or tell me what I should and shouldn't be doing. So I credit him with sort of that walk of life. I'd say politically, there's a couple different people. Jonathan Davis is one of those people that first got me into politics. Helped him on his campaign when he ran for state rep a few years ago, and he kind of showed me, that was my first campaign, showed me what it was like to work on a campaign and the different dynamics of...
And you were like, man, this is harder than it looks.
I don't know if I want to do it. No.
Yeah. Knocking on doors.
It was a fun time. I learned a lot, and I probably don't tell him enough, but I'm so thankful for sort of him bringing me into that realm. Good. And then I would say here recently, especially my cousin, one of my older cousins, kind of just showed me what it means to be a principled conservative and what it means to be educated, civil, and different things like that. So a few different people.
Fantastic.
And my parents. I love my parents. I don't want them to get mad at me.
Yes. Shout out, parents. You did a good job. So you mentioned something in there, and that was held accountable.
Yeah.
And I think accountability is one of the glaring issues with people of all generation, whether you're younger, whether you're older. It's real hard to look yourself in the mirror and admit you made a mistake, or look yourself in the mirror and say, this is the consequence for my action, whatever that may be, right? Very hard. But accountability is also very important. To me, it's one of the most important qualities you can have, is the ability to hold yourself accountable and take ownership in whatever it is you need to take ownership in, admit your mistakes, those kind of things. And I think it starts, we were all kids, and some parents would tell their kid, don't do that, or I'm going to take your phone away. And then the kid does it. I told you not to do that again, or I was going to take it. Some parents took that phone away. Some parents just kept up with the threat, right? And you're teaching that child, when you don't take that photo away when you said you would, that you're not holding them accountable. They have to be accountable for that action, whatever it may be.
That's right.
And so I think that accountability would solve some of the issue. Obviously not all of it, but some of it. And I think it's a glaring issue that not enough people hold themselves accountable. Would you agree, Larry?
I would agree. An example in my life of being held accountable was I had a car accident. It's probably like 2017. It was December 19th on a wet day. Well, I was on the way to an LSU basketball game going up Florida, about to turn on Juven to hop on the interstate. And there was a young woman I was supposed to be picking up to take with me. And so I said, oh, my God, I need to call her and see where she is. So I picked that phone up, sudden stop right in front of me. And so I got into that car accident. I can tell you this. Do you think my father got on the call and called the insurance agency? Nope. Larry Davis had to take care of all of that and figure out how was it going to get to work? How was I going to, show that I was able to get that car back? And so that first day after the wreck, I walked to work that next day, and then I said, oh, wait, Uber. I Ubered to work for about 2.5 years until my mom said, you know what, we'll help you get another vehicle. Wow. So holding children accountable is important because you don't have anyone to blame but yourself.
And look, as a parent of 3, so they're older now, but I can tell you, as parents, it's hard to let your kids kind of fall sometimes. And look, we're there, and we're going to catch them if it got to any point where it was unbearable. But sometimes you got to let them trip.
That's right.
And so when that kid's 5 and that kid trips over something, and parents grab, he or she is 5 years old, and you don't want them to get hurt. But as a parent, speaking as a parent, even when they're, 19, you still want to catch them before they fall.
That's right.
And sometimes you got to hold yourself back and say, they got to learn on their own. That's hard. It's tough as a parent, man. I'm telling you, but it is. It's worth it because it's your responsibility as a parent to make sure that they grow up as like you guys, just sharp individuals, as far as that goes. Now, Nathan, I'm going to turn to you again.
All right.
And so I'm sure there's at least 2,000 young Republicans now in Livingston Parish that are fired up. They're ready to join.
Yeah.
Give us some information on what they would need to do. Is there a cost? All those sorts of things.
Absolutely. So there's a bunch of different ways you can sort of reach out to us. We have a Facebook page. Seems like that's been the most popular way for people to kind of get in touch with us and reach out. We're working on a website, but our Facebook page, you can DM us, our email's on there. You can shoot us an email.
Livingston Parish YRs.
Yeah, the Livingston Parish Young Republicans is our Facebook page. Thank you for that.
Give it a like, a follow, all of y'all, and show that support there.
Absolutely.
A share.
Yes.
Facebook loves shares.
And through this event and our last event, my phone number has been on the promotional stuff. Shoot me a text, give me a call. If I don't answer, just leave me a voicemail. We were just testing that earlier. He was getting on to me because sometimes I let it go to voicemail because I don't know the number. I'm like, well, with
pick up those
spam calls
yeah,
these days.
That's right.
But yeah, reach out to us on social media, send us an email, give me a text. But also, we had, Larry probably have to help me with this one. So at our kickoff event, we probably had 20-something young conservatives there. So if you hear about it, bring your friends. Like when you hear about our event, don't be scared to see if there's a bar to entry. Just come, and if we'll get you in. We're not going to turn anyone away. We want people to be involved.
Fantastic.
We do have memberships though.
Chapter dues.
Chapter dues. So if you're high school or college, over 18, it's only $10 for a whole year. It's worth of memberships.
Yeah.
It's worth it. Yeah. And then
we need to talk about upping that a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. We didn't want it to be too much of a bar to enter. We just want young people to be engaged.
Yeah.
Now for our older people who may have a little bit more money.
Over 40.
We have our associate members, those who just want to support us, show up to our stuff. And that's a $50 fee. $50 fee for our associate members, those who want to just support us. But yeah, come to our events, shoot us an email, shoot us a text, reach out to us. We'd love to just talk to you, meet you for coffee, come to our events. We want to get young people engaged.
We do like coffee.
We get coffee every day.
Yeah,
so,
I love coffee.
I
can't have enough coffee.
No.
But it's 18 to 40 for that $10. Oh, and then $20 if you're not in college. So $20 for people who are out of college between 18 and 40.
Fantastic.
And that's the age range. But don't be scared to reach out.
No.
Yeah. So there you go, folks. And I'm going to link y'all's Facebook page and all that sort of stuff to this video. And that way people can just click. If you're driving or something like that, just wait till you get home and you can click that thing. Don't try to write nothing down. You won't be responsible for no accidents. William Waldrop of TWFG Insurance cares. He cares about his customers, their families, and the Livingston Parish community. Call William Waldrop today for all your insurance needs at 225-667-2040. TWFG Insurance and William Waldrop. Their policy is caring. And they're a proud sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast. Larry, I want to ask you now, you have what y'all call community partnerships?
That's correct.
Tell us about that.
So we have partnered with Kiwanis Club. We're partnering with the Livingston Parish Republican Women's, of course, local churches.
Miss Jessie Leger.
Miss Jessie Leger of Teen Pact, essential. I mean, if you want your kid to learn the Christian-based principles of political policy, you talk to her. She is phenomenal. Teen Pact organization. Homeschool parents, Chassie Odom, I can name a lot of people, but we have a lot of community partnerships. A lot of people at First Baptist Denham Springs.
Yeah, shout out First Baptist. Second time.
I mean, they just supply. We have the best people. I'm not lying to you. We have the best people that go to that church. So Jeff Taylor, we just got off the phone with him, talking to him for a bit.
Jeff Taylor.
I mean, yeah,
two-time guest. Here's the podcast. Yes.
So I mean, everybody's praying and they're excited for this event. So
yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and it's 10 a.m. Saturday, February 19th.
Yes, 10 a.m. to 1 o'clock. The doors will be open probably 9:30, 9:45.
Probably free food for everybody.
Yes, that's
free
the important
food.
part.
It's a town hall. Look, coffee,
Yes.
for everybody.
and lunch provided.
That's it.
So, beautiful thing. It's at a beautiful church, First Baptist Church, of course, as we mentioned earlier, and it's hosted by the Livingston Parish Young Republicans and Louisiana Right to Life.
Yes.
Man, look, I could spend 4 hours talking to y'all, but it's been almost an hour. And so y'all have to come back. I want y'all to call, shoot me a text, whatever. Anytime y'all want to come back on the show and promote whatever it is you're promoting, and we'll shout it out, talk about it. Awesome. I could talk about this stuff all day long.
All day.
Larry.
Me too.
Yeah.
I don't get tired.
Yeah.
We love to talk.
And just a little side note,
Yes.
we may be back on next month to talk about our Women's Month event. We're going to be doing a women's panel. So that's some
Awesome.
exciting things. We have some exciting panelists. I'll just shout out one,
women's panel
Laura
would be
Dunlap.
great.
So you don't want to miss, you do not want to miss that event next month. It is going to be awesome.
It's going to be fire, as we call it on this show. And yeah, we're looking forward to that. And look, we love our women around here. And I'll tell you, we do, I think it's March. Yeah, March is National Women's History Month.
Yes.
And so here on Local Leaders, the podcast, we honor 5 local people that live, work, or play in Livingston Parish, women, ladies, and we honor them with their own podcast and kind of tell whatever, their story in life and leading professionally as females. Because
Amber Dugas was one of your
she was one of mine from last year. Unbelievable person.
Spoke at our kickoff event.
Yeah, did she? Okay,
did.
awesome. I had lunch there today at Tola, so shout out Tola Cafe.
Let's get those swamp fries.
those
They're
are
good.
yum. Yes. So she was one of ours from last year, and we've got we're down to our 10 most nominated ladies, and we'll be passing that off to a panel who will pick our 5 for this year.
Awesome.
And so that's coming up. I appreciate y'all for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
I want to thank also the sponsors for sponsoring Local Leaders of Podcast. We could not do any of this without all of you. Cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. And until next time, I'm Jim Chapman reminding you, love your community, support local business, and keep leading. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Stephanie Berthelot and the crew at SR Enterprise can handle it all, from sheetrock to texture to paint. Give Stephanie a call at 504-432-9284. SR Enterprise, where they spread the paint and you spread the word.